don't you? The senior digital editor and special projects manager over at Midwest Living Magazine. I'll give you their website again in a second, but you can find it, Midwest Living Magazine. They do have a good article right now about this very thing. You're living in the Chicago area, you want to go on a vacation somewhere. What do you need to know this summer? Let's just take a minute right now, though. We've got Roy Spencer on the line, the founder and president of Permaseal Basement Systems. They're sponsoring this conversation. I'm going to take 2 minutes with you, Roy, to get your phone ringing. It's already ringing because folks have got wet basements, but you're actually asking folks to also consider a career in what you guys do, right?
Yes, please, John. Thank you very much. And you can call us, go on the website or whatever. But we're very busy. We've got over nearly 40 inspectors out just doing estimates and things. And with that, we're still backed up weeks, trying to get out, just look at things, let alone do work. So we're very much interested in hiring sales consultants, inspectors, and of course installers and service technicians. So we're going to be busy for really the rest of the year. We're certainly very busy now. We're booked up for a couple months now. It takes us generally about 45 days to get someone totally trained and up to speed, but of course, installers, we can get them kind of an internship working right away. But either way, if you know somebody who's interested in learning our trade, we will totally train you. I'm not looking for experienced waterproofing inspectors or things. We will train you everything you need to know about to get into our business, to become an expert in waterproofing and foundation repairs. What we're looking for, what you need to bring, is a great work ethic, ambition. We have tremendous opportunity for growth and career paths at Permaseal, and primarily, first and foremost, a desire to help people. So if you bring those things, we'll train you the rest. So if you go to careers.permaseal.net, you can apply right online, and we'd love to talk to you.
Can you talk generally about the pay? I suppose it depends on how many clients I get or what specific job I do, but what are we looking at here?
Well, it's very competitive. We're, like I say, our sales consultants are some of the highest, compensated. It's one of the best sales jobs in Chicagoland, quite frankly. We don't do cold calling. We work strictly from appointments from interested homeowners and things. So it's, and we're working for an industry leader and things. So you can make a very nice compensation as a trained inspector. Our technicians and installers, they actually, we teach them a trade. You don't have to go to trade school. You don't have to do a 4-year apprenticeship or anything, and you can make very good money here. We have incentive plans and things like that for our installers as well, and in a career path you can rapidly advance. So it really is, we all work hard. We work hard very seriously. It's the nature of our business, but if you're not afraid of that and you're just looking for a great opportunity to make good money with good benefits and a great place to work, Permaseal is the place for you.
Careers.permaseal.net, careers.permaseal.net. Who else is advertising, hey, we're hiring, than Permaseal? You can call 1-800-421-7325. We hear you a lot on the radio. You sound great. Roy, I appreciate your time today.
Well, thank you for the time, John. And, like I say, we need help to help other people. So if you're looking for a great opportunity, give us a call or go to the website. Thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you. Careers.permaseal.net. Call 1-800-421-7325. Time for the news.
It is 90 degrees. Good afternoon. Make that good morning. I'm Steve Bertrand. The Texas funeral is underway for George Floyd. First, a look at WGN traffic. Here's Mary Vandevel.
Pretty clear traveling on the Edens and the Kennedy after an accident inbound to California has been cleared. Eisenhower is okay, along with the Stevenson and the Dan Ryan. No backups anymore on the outbound side of the Bishop Ford after an earlier accident at King Drive. And also in Willowbrook, watch for a crash at 83 just north of 63rd. We still have this accident. All lanes blocked off at US 231 and County Line Road in the Lake Porter County area. Mary Vandevel, WGN Traffic Central.
The forecast from the Permaseal Weather Center: windy, warm, and humid today. Showers and thunderstorms likely, highs in the low 90s with winds gusting up to 45 miles an hour. Showers and storms continue tonight with a low near 70, and then a 40% chance of rain tomorrow. A cooler, still windy, a high near 80. We're at 90 degrees right now at O'Hare. Midway 89. It is 87 degrees at Chicago's lakefront. Let me correct that here. We're at 87 right now at O'Hare. I was looking at the THI, so it feels like it's 90, but it's really
Either
only
way, you
officially
made the point. Holy cow.
87.
Wow.
I thought we got to 90 pretty quickly there.
Yeah.
In the news this morning, 33-year-old Laval Park is in court today on charges he shot a Chicago police officer during a domestic disturbance yesterday morning. He's charged with attempted murder. The bullet hit the officer's vest. The funeral for George Floyd is getting underway in Houston. This is the last of several services for Floyd. He died on Memorial Day after a police officer kneeled on his neck for more than 8 minutes during an arrest in Minneapolis. And the Chicago Film Office will begin issuing permits to casts and crews of 10 people or fewer starting next week. Another sign to we're opening up. The Tribune says the productions must follow guidelines that include cleaning sets hourly and deep cleaning them every night. Your money on WGN. The markets are mixed. The Dow down 233 points, the NASDAQ up 32, and the S&P 500 down 22. I'm Steve Bertrand on Chicago's very own 720 WGN.
Thank you, Steve Bertrand. We're talking to Ginger Creighton, and we're talking about places to take a vacation with your family. It's going to be different, she said, this year than it was last, and maybe than it will be next. John, I was in Door County, a texter said, last weekend, Door County, everything's open, no masks, no social distancing, beware. That's the problem. Ginger, that's the problem. It's like, oh, good. Oh, wait, no, I don't know if that's good. The places that are wide open and I can go to restaurants, now I don't know if I want to go there. I'm conflicted. You know what I mean?
Right. So I think you have to assess your personal comfort level there. If you are a person who doesn't have, are you comfortable with going into a restaurant where the servers don't have any face coverings on? If you're not, then don't go. Find somewhere else to go. Or eat outside on the patio if they have a patio.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little less contact out there. So I really think you're just going to need to find your personal comfort level. And it might be just renting a cottage for you and no one else and cooking your food in the cottage.
Yeah, which a lot of us say, well, wait, that's not a vacation. I'm already cooking in my cottage here. You want me to go into the woods and cook some more? John, I just got back from Door County, and we had no issues with finding restaurants open in and outside. Go and enjoy. John, take the wife and head to the Abbey Resort and Spa in Fremont, Wisconsin. 20-minute drive from Lake Geneva Town. Steps away from the lake, 21-mile walk around the lake. The resort has Chuck's Restaurant. Just 10-minute walk on the shore. 2 restaurants in the resort as well. Most of Lake Geneva has reopened. Boating, golfing, walking, good food, and clean air. And again, that sounds very inviting, or maybe it sounds a little too fast for some people. So, as Ginger says, be advised, huh? In the article that you guys had in your magazine, Ginger, you had places in Tennessee, in Wisconsin. You kind of had a wide swath of areas to consider, didn't you?
Yes, well, we do cover throughout the Midwest, and obviously things are changing all the time, as you pointed out. I think some of the places you just talked about are excellent. You'd mentioned earlier parks and wide open spaces. This might be the summer to go to South Dakota's Black Hills and Badlands. It might be the summer to drive all around Lake Michigan and stop at all the small towns, or to go up into Michigan's UP and be in kind of the wild places up there. Maybe it's the summer to go to the Flint Hills in Kansas. Or the North Shore of Minnesota, a great place to go where you can see so much and then still be outside and enjoy a lot of different things. So, I think there's an awful lot of options out there. Just do your research and make sure you're comfortable and prepared with wherever you're going.
Are places like Mount Rushmore open? Can I go there?
In general, most of your national parks, and again, check the websites because they do vary. Your national parks and national monuments are going to be open, but not necessarily their buildings or their restrooms, or maybe the guide services are not open. So again, be prepared. And I think you'll see that changing over the summer. I think you'll see some of those buildings starting to open up. There will be, say, more restroom options. But just know before you go so that you're not surprised.
Hey, John, the Creek Walk Inn and Cottages in Tennessee, the Great Smoky Mountains, charming innkeeper who is a poet and gourmet cook, secluded, surrounded by nature, swimming holes, blackberry picking, hiking, fireflies galore. Again, that sounds like that's the kind of vacation you're going to take this year, doesn't it?
Yes, I think you're going to want to look for those kind of really special experiences that feel a little secluded, maybe, but also maybe, if you can get a pampering experience, well, so much the better. As you pointed out, you probably don't really want to cook the whole week because you're already doing that at home. So, if you can find that kind of thing, that would be great.
Interesting article. Midwest Living Magazine has some of these ideas. Ginger Creighton. Ginger, I'm out of time today, but will you come on with us next week and every week for the rest of the year and just kind of guide us through some of these things? Because I think we could use some tips and advice.
Well, we'll have to see what we can work out. I will say our July-August issue is coming out soon. It's got a lot to do with things to do around the water. So if you like water vacations, keep an eye out for that July-August issue.
Midwest Living Magazine. Thanks, Ginger. Thanks for your time.
All right. Thanks for having me on.
Steve Bertrand, what's going on?
You might as well leave town. The summer's been canceled in Chicago in many ways. Lollapalooza now is off. The city announcing today Taste of Chicago, the Air and Water Show, Jazz Festival, all of its events through Labor Day have been canceled because of the coronavirus.
Is the Air and Water Show news new?
I don't know. I'm sorry. I should attribute this to the Tribune. They're reporting it.
Because I wasn't clear on that. I knew Lollapalooza was holding out. But no Air and Water Show this year. It's final.
No Taste of Chicago. No Jazz Fest in the fall.
Yeah, Lollapalooza. I know why you were waiting, and I almost thought maybe with the lightening up of restrictions last weekend that maybe they were going to get away with it. But that's the most crowded event. I would say that is the most crowded event. You get 1 million people on the lakefront, but that's spread over 15 miles. Lollapalooza's Grant Park. There was no way they could do that. Okay, thanks for the heads up on that, Steve Bertrand. We're going north to Minneapolis now. Jordana Green hosts the afternoon show at WCCO Radio in Minneapolis, where I used to work. Hi, Jordana. How are you?
Hi, John. I'm well. Thank you.
I know you're busy and getting ready for your show up there. Are you going to be talking about dismantling or defunding the Minneapolis Police Department when you go on later on?
Yes, it's definitely something that we've been talking about. And, John, there's so much confusion around it. We've been trying to get folks from the city council on, the Minneapolis City Council, who have not returned our calls yet, unfortunately. So we don't have full clarity on that, but we do have some ideas of what it was going to look like. So we're trying to figure that all out with our listeners.
I talked off the air today to a spokesperson for the city council, but not a city council member, and he said maybe what you now know, that the reason maybe they're not talking too much to you about it yet is because they don't know exactly themselves what they mean, but they know they want to restructure the police department so that you don't have another George Floyd. Is that your read on it?
Yes. What they want to do, I mean, this is what we're hearing. And we're talking, to some civic groups and some protesting groups about this. And the plan is to take money that would go to maybe, whether it be riot gear or some other aspect of police money and put it toward, let's say, social work. So when you get a 911 call for somebody who's in mental distress, somebody who's trained in dealing with somebody in mental distress arrives instead of somebody with a gun and a baton who may only be trained in use of force and not properly trained with mental illness. Or you get a call for sexual violence. Somebody may have been raped, God forbid. So you get somebody who responds, who's trained in trauma, who knows how to interview somebody about trauma, instead of somebody just maybe with a baton looking to capture a rapist who is long gone. So it's really finding and funding the appropriate response to the appropriate need.
That's not an indictment of the well-intended police officers who are asked to wear all these different hats, is it?
Absolutely not. And people say, oh, well, what happens when you call 911 and somebody's getting broken into? We're not naive. And I don't think the city council is being naive or any of these civic groups that are calling for this reform. There still needs to be law and order, and there still will be law and order. It just won't look like it does today. They're probably also looking at dismantling, at least taking all the power away from the police union, because as you know, John, and I think we've talked about this on your show, the head of the union, Bob Kroll, is a major issue, somebody who our former mayor and our former police chief has called a cancer and a racist. So they want to get power away from the union, which is very powerful, and put it more into grassroots efforts in response.
But it sounds like you won't have a police department. If you dismantle or if you defund the police, then when you do have a legitimate 911 call, that is where you need a guy with a gun, then what's going to happen?
Well, it sounds like that, and I urge people not to jump to that conclusion, because when you call 911, and John, remember, I'm not an expert. I'm just listening to what some of these civic groups are telling us, that if somebody breaks into your house or there is a stabbing somewhere, the appropriate person who will have a baton and a gun and possibly some gear that they need will respond to that. They just won't respond to everything. So what that seems like to me is they're just going to be maybe a smaller number of those with guns and batons, or lesser funds for that kind of response, because the majority of the calls are mental illness or they are sexual violence. There's something that don't require use of force.
I think that is such an interesting point, Jordana. So this doesn't mean we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It may be, in theory, is a better idea, but we're so caught up in what it sounds like. But talk to me for a minute about what happened to the mayor over the weekend and the city council. I'll take a quick break. We'll finish this conversation with Jordana Green at WCCO in Minneapolis after this. In these unprecedented times of face masks and social distancing, taking care of your health and well-being is more important than ever. Turn to Amita Health for safe, convenient, and reliable care, whether you prefer to see a doctor at a location near you or from the comfort of your own home. Amita Health doctors now offer virtual care visits to address your health concerns. Whether you are dealing with a common illness, injury, or chronic condition, you can receive expert advice from a caring physician through a secure video conference on your computer, tablet, or phone. The doctors will give you undivided attention and engage you in developing an individualized treatment plan that works for you and your current situation. You can schedule a virtual care visit with a general practitioner or specialist, including family medicine, behavioral health, heart and vascular care, neurology, pain management, orthopedics, and more. Amita Health, we're here for you always, in sickness and in health. To learn more and find a provider, go to amitahealth.org/virtual visit.
At Amita Health, we believe there's no one quite like you. So we offer care focused on your needs with individualized treatment plans and doctors and nurses who embrace you like family. With hundreds of locations and online scheduling, accessing our compassionate care is easy and convenient. Learn more at amitahealth.org/access. To find a doctor, call 855-MY-AMITA. Amita Health, in sickness and in health.
Attention business owners. With the coronavirus and so many other contaminants polluting our air, the challenges of staying healthy and productive can feel overwhelming. Millhouse Engineering and Construction solves problems that improve communities everywhere. They use a special fog sanitization to effectively sanitize against the coronavirus. Maximize the productivity of your staff with peace of mind. You'll know you've taken precautions to provide a healthy work environment. Millhouse's sanitization fogging is the same process recently adopted by the major airlines. It filters the air with a 3-stage HEPA filtration system and uses a hospital-grade EPA-registered solution for fogging. Unlike other processes, their solution doesn't use bleach or leave a toxic residue. Their sanitizing fog combats contaminants in the air and on hard, soft, and porous surfaces. To sanitize the air against coronavirus and other contaminants in your office, call Millhouse Engineering right now for a consultation at 855-621-0001. That's 855-621-0001 or millhouseinc.com.
1146 WGN. Yeah, you've heard that in Minneapolis they're talking about defunding and dismantling the police department up there. What does that mean? Incidentally, they did something like this in Camden, New Jersey, a smaller town, but at least a place you've heard of. And in Camden, they had one of the highest crime rates in the country after, quote-unquote, dismantling the police department. The crime rate fell in half, which isn't to say that the police were the problem, but it is to say that if you have a different approach to the business, maybe the community and the police get along better. For instance, one of the first things that the police recruits do in Camden is once you are accepted, you've been hired by the police department, they then assign you to an area, and then you go door to door and introduce yourself to the citizens in the area, and you ask them, what do you need? How can we help you in some way? Which is a different approach from a lot of major cities. Jordana Green's on the phone line. I suppose you heard that version of the story, huh, Jordana?
Of course. In fact, John, as a young reporter, I was in New Jersey, and I have done stories in Camden, and I am thrilled. They needed a lot of help back then, and I am thrilled to hear these incredible success stories. I didn't know they went door to door, but of course that makes perfect sense. That is a great idea. I love it.
So Jacob Frey is the mayor of Minneapolis?
Yes. For now, Jacob is a good guy and well-meaning, and he gets along wonderfully. Well, he did at least with a lot of the civic groups here and the grassroots organizations here in Minneapolis. He was one group was staging a protest outside his home in Minneapolis over the weekend on Sunday, and he came out to address them, and they said specifically, Jacob, will you commit to defunding and dismantling the Minneapolis Police Department? And he said, no, I cannot commit fully to that. And then they booed and hissed and chanted, go home, Jacob. And John, he did what was the equivalent to the walk of shame off of the podium and back to his home. It was a moment here in Minneapolis.
Well, but guess what, Jordana? He gave the right answer. When a mob says, will you commit to dismantling the police, and the mob doesn't even know what that means, and the city council is sympathetic, but they don't know what that means, then of course you don't promise to do something you don't even know what it is.
Mm-hmm. Understood. And he says he gives his full support to Chief Arradondo. We have an African-American chief of police here who is known as a reformer, and he has actually sued the Minneapolis Police Department, for which he worked before this, for civil rights violations. So he knows that there's a problem, and yes, you can look at it and say, why hasn't he done anything about it? He has been trying, but the mayor wants to work with Chief Arradondo to make these kind of reforms, but I hear you that you can't commit to something that you don't even know what it looks like yet. So I understand that he was honest. He was honest, and he got booed for his honesty, but it doesn't mean he won't make the change that they want to happen.
So what do you have, 13 members on your city council there?
So I don't know, John. You know I don't do math. You're putting me on the spot.
And I think about 9 of them showed up at rallies over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And
at least, yes.
And it sounds like the city council is on board with this. It's going to require all their votes, but like most of them said, yes, we need to dismantle and defund the police. Again, they don't know exactly what that means. I wonder what would happen if you would say, okay, so I have, like you said, a mental health emergency, or maybe it's a sexual assault, which is a violent crime. I think you do need to send a man with a gun to that scene. But anyway, imagine all the different scenarios, a cat in the tree where the cops get called. Maybe you call 911 and then they dispatch different agencies, different people would go to different things. Would it work something like that?
Again, you're asking me something that hasn't been created yet. I don't have the answers, but seemingly community organizers are telling us that. Like if there's a rape in progress, yes, you send somebody with a gun and somebody who is trained to disarm and apprehend a felon, a criminal, somebody who is doing something in the act. But if a person calls to report a sexual violence crime that happened to her or him the night before or earlier in that day, and they are alone, what you send is an expert in trauma. Maybe you send a trauma nurse. You don't send somebody with a badge and a gun who may not be properly trained in trauma. And as somebody who has studied this extensively here, the Minneapolis Police Department is not trauma trained, and they are not adequately equipped. And I know from just from my background in sexual violence here, that they are not equipped for that. So I, for one, would be glad to see somebody else respond to crimes for that.
And maybe the police themselves would, too.
Yeah, maybe they don't want to deal with that. Yes, I think those are all great things to be asking them.
It sounds more expensive then, though, right? Because one thing you have when you ask the police and the EMTs and the firefighters to do everything is that you consolidate your resources. Now you only need one 911 operator, et cetera. You're going to need more coffee pots. You're going to need more vehicles. You're going to need more badges, uniforms, stuff like that. The city council there that's a progressive town, obviously.
Yes.
What do the listeners in Minnesota say? Do they like this idea, or do they think this is cuckoo?
It depends where you are. That's why we're so purple, John, because in our downtowns and our urban areas, we're very blue, but you get to outstate Minnesota, and it's very red. And John, before we get to that makeup, I just wanted to share one thing with you, that the 9 members of the city council who did vote in favor of dismantling the Minneapolis Police Department, that is veto-proof now. Because they had 9 votes in the affirmative, that the mayor now cannot override them or overrule them. That whatever they decide is going to move forward in one way or another. Doesn't mean he won't have influence and can't negotiate how that's going to move forward, but he cannot veto that vote.
That just sounds like such a roll of the dice, doesn't it? I mean,
John, something has to happen. We have police officers that are killing black people in Minneapolis. We have systemic racism in the police department. We have a union head who has been called a racist and a cancer by the past police chief and the past mayor. We have a problem here. So what we're doing now isn't working, and there needs to be change. And change is painful, John. You know that. And it often doesn't happen as fast as it's happening here in Minnesota, but it needs to happen.
You had the George Floyd case. Prior to that, you had the Philando Castile case, which was Chicago's
We had
Laquan
Jamar
McDonald.
Clark.
Jamar Clark
Yes.
also happened up there. Instances that were just appalling and quite different from actually the George Floyd case, where the police power was excessive, was rash. It's amazing to me, Jordana, that in an era of videotaping, that the police don't anticipate that their bad actions are ultimately going to cost them. Let me finish this thought about that, because I know what you're saying, John. It never does cost them. That's the point. But it has. And it's hurt the police departments. It's hurt the cops when they go back out on the street and people don't like, know, want, or trust them. I mean, it's cost them that way. As an agency, the constant videoing of police abuse hurts their safety. It hurts their relationship with their communities. It's amazing that these things are still getting, not only that they're still happening, but that they're still being captured, that the guy doesn't even seem to care that he's being videotaped as he strangles George Floyd.
Because he believes there will be no consequence. Because the union has defended this behavior in the past. Because the department hasn't fired people like this in the past. That's why he was so careless, and he was so fine with being videotaped and continuing for more than 8.5 minutes to put his knee on George Floyd's neck, because there have been no consequences. But John, as you said, this is the result. What we're seeing now, what people think is, where is this coming from? To fund the police. This has been years in the making. This isn't quick change. These are the consequences of the actions of the Minneapolis police for decades.
Well, you said that Minnesota's a purple state, and it is, but Minneapolis is a blue city.
Yes.
So maybe there will be an appetite for something like this.
I think there is. I think in my callers, I get a lot of callers from outstate, not so much, but they also don't understand the feel. They don't understand what it's like to be on the streets of Minneapolis. People are asking me, even when I do outside media, are you afraid to walk around in your city? Walk around in my city. I took my kids down to the memorial multiple times. We're dropping off food and donating in North Minneapolis and South Minneapolis. I park my car and I walk around downtown. We don't live in fear here. It's not a fearful place. I know that's what people might think it is. And there are no longer violent protests that are happening. There are peaceful rallies that are happening every day here. But unless you live and feel in the streets of Minneapolis, you don't really get a say. People are rising up and saying, this is how we want to be governed. And we have to listen to that now, because what we're doing in Minneapolis right now does not work.
Jordana Green's on a phone line. She hosts a talk show at WCCO Radio in Minneapolis. Can you tell? And
I only learn from the best, John. You are my greatest mentor, my greatest teacher, and I am forever at your service, my friend.
Well, it's good to talk to you. I chuckle a little bit because it's unspeakable what we've seen in a couple of instances up there. But the idea that the people from outstate Minneapolis would be afraid to go to Minneapolis is almost amusing to me, living in Chicago, because I think Chicagoans would say, well, I'll just go to Minneapolis. That sounds like a very safe and tranquil place. And it is the same way.
It is.
Most of Chicago is a wonderful, safe place to visit too. I'm out of time, Jordana. I know you're on the air, at 3 o'clock this afternoon or something like that, right?
Yes, sir.
You have a good show today, and I'll call you again someday, maybe for something to talk about that's more peaceful and calm.
Thank you. My RV trip is coming up. I want to tell you all about what I'm doing for the summer. Call me then.
I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, John. Bye.
She's not getting in an RV. It's 11:57. WGN Radio News comes up next.
You've stared at the same yard, the same deck. Do you have a scorching case of QRS? Quarantine Redecorating Syndrome. It's real. We'll tell you what some people are doing to turn their yards into adventures. With me, Anna DeBlantis, at 1 o'clock here on WGN. WGN.
Your home is your castle, your refuge, your safe place.
Our job at 1-800-GOT-JUNK is to make junk disappear.
And we're good at it.
Your home will feel bigger.
And cleaner.
And you'll feel happier.
We promise.
Give us a call.
Or go to our website.
And your junk will magically disappear as our truck drives past your home.
Well, almost.
We'll be in and out before you can blink.
And our gloved professionals touch nothing except the things you want to disappear.
Call 1-800-GOT-JUNK.
Or visit 1-800-GOT-JUNK.com.
Though we're apart these days, we're sharing more. So at Geico, we'd like to say thanks. Thanks for sharing your savage dance moves. Thanks for sharing your DIY haircut fails. Thanks for sharing your inner lip sync star. Now it's our turn to share with the Geico Give Back, a 15% credit on car and motorcycle policies for current and new customers. Because we're committed for the long haul, the 15% credit lasts your full policy term. Visit geico.com/giveback for more info and eligibility.
Things are looking up, Chicagoland. Lindemann Chimney Heating and Cooling represents the safest, best trained staff in the industry. For 50 years, they've been making beautiful homes like yours safe and sound. Book at cleanfireplace.com.
Yep. Here I am. Your carpets, your rug, your upholstery are reservoirs for virus and bacteria. Now's the time to professionally sanitize your carpeting, your rugs, your floors, your furniture. Call Executive Green Carpet Cleaning, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for just $139. If you request, they'll provide you a free wipe down of all of your high touch points with an EPA-registered disinfectant. They'll wear masks in your home. They're taking every measure to ensure the health and safety of your family. They provide a level of clean no one else can by delivering scrubbing no one else can deliver by scrubbing and extracting using the world's most powerful carpet cleaning machines. I got to put a comma there. They use ultra-purified deionized water in conjunction with the safe detergent-free pre-spray, all green seal certified. Plus, they'll groom your carpets to leave a nice-looking finish. In 3 rooms, $139. They wipe down the high touch points. Call Executive Green Carpet Clean at 630-990-8600. 630-990-8600. Visit executivegreencarpetcleaning.com.
Serving the great Midwest from Chicago, this is WGN at AM 720 on your radio and on smart devices anywhere just by saying play WGN Radio on TuneIn. WGN Chicago, a Nexstar Media Group station.
It is 87 degrees at 12 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Steve Bertrand. The city cancels its summer festivals on Wall Street. The markets are mixed. This news sponsored by Lindemann Chimney Heating and Cooling. Now the traffic. Here's Lauren Lapka.
And this report is sponsored by Target. An accident inbound on the Kennedy or on the Eisenhower is in the right lane near Morgan. Right now it's a half hour from Route 390. Outbound side looks good. Kennedy is clear as well. However, the express lanes are closed until 1 or 1:30 this afternoon. No issues on the Stevenson or the Dan Ryan. An accident southbound on Lakeshore Drive is blocking the left lane at Grand. Traffic is heavy from the Oak Street curve. And road work on I-8094 West is blocking the entrance ramp at Grant and will continue to block it until June 30th. At Target, your health and safety is their top priority. That means deep cleaning their stores every day, providing masks and gloves to their team members, and offering contactless shopping options like Drive Up. You can learn more at target.com/a bullseye view.